Morning, everybody. It's Saturday morning, and we're ready to kick off Godcast 19. 19 already. 19. Okay, today we're going to kick off into Romans 1. So Paul has finally made it there, and he suffered quite a bit along the way. Even the last series of events involved a shipwreck and a poisonous snake bite and other things, but he finally made it. So I'm going to pick up with what he's talking about in Romans 1. Okay, so this is Romans 1:8 through, oh boy, a whole bunch here. I'll pick and choose. Okay. First, I thank my God through Jesus Christ for all of you, because your faith is being reported all over the world. God, whom I serve in my spirit in preaching the gospel of his Son, is my witness how constantly I remember you in my prayers at all times. And I pray that now at last, by God's will, the way may be open for me to come to you. I long to see you so that I may impart to you some spiritual gift to make you strong. That is, that you and I may be mutually encouraged by each other's faith. I do not want you to be unaware, brothers and sisters, that I planned many times to come to you, in order that I might have a harvest among you, just as I've had among the other Gentiles. I am obligated both to Greeks and non-Greeks, both to the wise and the foolish. That is why I am so eager to preach the gospel also to you who are in Rome. For I am not ashamed of the gospel, because it is the power of God that brings salvation to everyone who believes, first to the Jew, then to the Gentile. For in the gospel the righteousness of God is revealed, a righteousness that is by faith from first to last, just as it is written, the righteous will live by faith. Okay. And then he goes in to talk about why God matters, why this all matters, okay? And he says, for although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him, but their thinking became futile and their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like a mortal human being and birds and animals and reptiles. We chose the snakes over the God. Yes, we did. Therefore, God gave them over in their sinful desires of their hearts to sexual impurity for the degrading of their bodies with one another. They exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worshiped and served created things rather than the Creator who is praised forever. Amen. Paul's words. So the last part here this is in Romans 1:28. Furthermore, just as they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, so God gave them over to a depraved mind, so that they do what ought not to be done. They have become filled with every kind of wickedness, evil, greed, and depravity. They are full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, and malice. They are gossips, slanderers, God-haters, insolent, arrogant, and boastful. They invent ways of doing evil. They disobey their parents. They have no understanding, no fidelity, no love, no mercy. Although they know God's righteous decree that those who do such things deserve death, they not only continue to do these very things, but also approve of those who practice them. Wow. So Paul is getting serious in Rome, right? He is laying it all down. But why not? Why not? It's time. It's time. He has survived so many different things along every point of his ministry to finally get to Rome, where he wants to proclaim this to his fellow citizens. He wants them to understand why he would have ever endured all of these things just to get to this point in his life. And the power of God and who he is, and the knowledge and the love and the purity of which he flows. So here we are. And I think one important thing in all of this is to suggest that there are people that Paul has met all along the way. There are people that we meet all along our way who will deny God because they say, what do you need God to tell you right from wrong? Why do you need God to explain love versus hate? These are basic things. Human beings with right minds should be able to know that difference. I don't need God to tell me right from wrong. I don't need God to tell me love from hate. And that can be a very powerful argument, right? It's like, ooh, true. There are rules, there are regulations, there are laws, right, that we live by, that we come to live by. And if we come to live by those rules honestly, and we do what's right most of the time, then we shouldn't have any problems, right? And if everybody did that all the time, then there'd be no problems in this world, right? I don't think so. I don't think so, because common sense and decency is very personal, right? My common sense is probably much different than your common sense, and your common sense is much different than a host of other people in your life. And the reason for that is our common sense is developed over time. It's developed based on our experiences, based on our family, our education. All of these things form this ball of what we refer to as common sense. So it's common to me because this is my life. It's how I lived. But it's probably not common to you because you didn't live the way I lived. You didn't grow up the way I grew up. You didn't think the way I thought. And such, there is always going to be that time for conflict, just amongst those applying common sense. Same thing with decency, right? I mean, you can see the way people treat animals. You have people that put animals on a pedestal, and you have people that put animals in the grave for no good reason, right? So maybe there's a middle ground in all that, but the point is, who decides, right? Who gets to determine whose decency wins, whose decency is best? And that's why Paul just dispenses with all that. He says it's all depraved. It all comes from a depraved origination. Our minds, ourselves, right? So if it originates in some place that is depraved, then how could it play itself out to be good and moral and just and true? It can't. It can't. It can't. I mean, the only possible way is if we all found an island unto ourselves to live. Because then we wouldn't be imposing ourselves on everyone else. There wouldn't be that need to sort out who's more common and who's more decent. But because we have to do that on a daily basis, that's where all the tension is. That's where all the slander is. That's where all the gossip is. The gossip is in us determining who's more common in their sins and who's more decent in their desires and their appetites and what they want. And that will go on forever. That will rage on forever. And Paul says that's a losing fight. That's a battle that's already been lost. Because eventually, who we see as good won't be good anymore, because we will find a place where their decency is going to run smack head on into ours. And we're not going to renounce our decency for somebody else's, right? That's why we just throw it all off the table and say, God, it's yours. It's yours. It's your love. It's your truth. It's your way. It's your wisdom. Because that origination is pure, is right, is godly. So that's what we're trying to move from, right? We're trying to move from a life that's derived from ourselves and the way we think, and that's going to just be constant commotion and tension and fighting, to a place that originates from God. And if it originates from God, then there's an opportunity for peace, love, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness, goodness, all these things. So that's what we're trying to work towards. That's what we're trying to work towards. And that's the message that we have to give to those who try to slap us with common sense and decency. It doesn't exist. It only exists in a context. And that context is constantly changing with different characters, different circumstances, constantly moving. You can't ever put a target on it, right? It's always moving. It always has a prejudice. It always has a bias. But God doesn't. There is no bias to God. The only bias God has is that we are a special creation over an animal or a plant. That's his partiality, is us as human beings over all else. I'll take that. I love that. Don't you love that? So today is a wonderful day. It's a Saturday. It's a day for truth, and it's a day for understanding. It's a day for respect. And we can do all these things better if we do it with the truth that God has given us, not with our own so-called truths. Because guess what? They're not true at all. Okay. I don't have a whole lot more to say. I guess it was a good week, an interesting week, a lot of ups and downs, people trying to apply their own sense of self, and you get worn out by it. But I am filled by those in my life who have come and search and seek and want truth. I'm filled by them constantly. And I'm very grateful for those of you who are in my life and stay in my life. And hopefully I'm providing the same for you. And hopefully we provide the same for each other. That we can be a place for building each other up, filling each other with wisdom, leading each other to the right path, and we get to glorify God and all that. Uh-oh. See the kids? There's some decency going on up there. Some common sense is getting laid down up there. Okay, that's all I have. I'm going to pray, and then we're going to close. O God of all, we thank you for detailing the world without your truth, and how the enemy has confused and distorted its people into believing that they have truth without you. Thank you. Is that not it? There is no truth without you, God. No pure truth. Does not exist. Thank you, God, for giving us Jesus as the way, the truth, and the life from which the only real good flows. From real truth, Jesus flows real good. I like it. All right, Saturday is the day. It's the day to shore up the spirit, get yourselves right, find your people, get with them, give them a hug, give them a high five. I'm going to find my people in a minute. I can see her right now. She's staring me down. She's going to get some love in a second. And we owe it to each other. Love is the thing that matters. It matters most. It matters most in all things. That's 1 Corinthians 13. Without love, we have nothing. Without love, we've gained nothing. Without love, we're just cymbals and gongs going about yapping in people's ears. With love, everything comes together. With that, I love you all. I'm breaking for the day. Go Pack. We'll see what happens. Bye.